Howdy, welcome everyone to the Quick Start Basics program tonight. It's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all who are attending, all who are listening, all who have a mother, are a mother, will be a mother, grandmother, fur mother. Welcome everyone. I hope you had a great day and hope we can add to it with some success principles so that you can achieve all your goals for your loved ones and yourself and all the people that matter to you as a mother. So we're happy to have you join us tonight. Tonight our goal is to equip and empower you to build a strong and profitable network marketing business. And before we get started, we want to let you know what's coming up. Monday through Friday, noon Eastern Time, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Jeff and I are on Facebook Live on either of our pages, or you can go to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. And you can join there. If you don't know that or you haven't done that yet, you can get a free ebook to follow along with John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. We teach one every day, every weekday. And this Monday is going to be law number 8, the law of magnetism, which is you attract who you are, not what you want. Very powerful, isn't it? To do a check on that and say, well, my team's not doing anything. Well, maybe you're attracting who you are, right? So we always want to lead by example. And that is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to join. And we do have a lot of people almost daily joining that Facebook group. And by the way, if you do send 10 people to that Facebook group to request their own membership, not that you have, they can request their own, and that way they can get their own ebook, their own free ebook to follow along with us. And if you do send 10 people to that group, and when they're approved and you find their names among the members, then send me their 10 names. And Jeff and I will gift you, as a thank you, a free coaching session worth $250 that help explode your business. So some people are aiming for that and doing that, and you're welcome to as well. That's a cool thing. Also, a Tuesday at 3 p.m. every week, Jeff and I also teach an aspect of the Quick Start Basics. And this Tuesday is going to be those 7 steps that you've seen in the club group that Jeff has clarified and outlined about inviting to recruiting, the 7 steps to recruiting. So we're going to go deeper into that, hear more from Jeff about that and how to do that. The simple steps that if you skip one, it decreases your chance of closing, I think by 80%, he said. So very important, basic part of our basics. And of course on Wednesday night is our MLM Leadership University. That's where we dive deep into John Maxwell. And we teach one book a month. Right now we're taking 4 months on this big book, which is a compilation of several books in one. It is incredible, you guys. These are like life principles. He goes so deep and so important into relationships and teamwork, and that's what we're on right now. We just finished How to Equip a Team, and we're about to come into Leadership is the name of the next book that we're on. These have been life-changing for me to look at myself, improve myself as a person, and I know I'm going to have to go through this again and again, but I'm getting as deep as I can this level of this time. The people who are in the class just are adoring the class and using it to apply these principles. So those leadership principles are how you apply the 10 core that we're learning tonight on our Sunday night class. So that is what's cooking. And of course the 10 core, I'm just going to run through them real quick because this is just a quick little overview. We're on number 10 tonight, but the 10 core is getting started right, be here a year from now, personal development, market daily, present daily, attend a weekly presentation, and attend a weekly core training, which you're doing right now, attend a monthly regional, attend all company conventions, and then have a monthly massive action plan. That's the one that we're covering tonight. So again, want to grab your pen and paper, take notes. We often think that we know the basics. The basics are everything to success, but we might overlook them because they're simple. We might try to alter them. We might try to skip them, or we might just think we know them. But believe me, they are the core foundation of success. we don't want to fool ourselves. Actually, if you can't teach them, then you don't know them well enough yet, which is why we offer the certification level each time you complete one of them, and by attending in live or hearing the replay, each time you complete all 10 of them, we have a certification for that level for you. So Jim Bailey is the first person to complete 3 levels of that. There's 10 in all. So that's you guys. You keep track of your attendance and watching the replays, and just let us know when you have, and we'll issue a certificate to you on the Facebook group. So keep track. As always, this is a 90-minute class, and at the end we will turn off the recording. And love to hear your favorite takeaway from tonight. So take notes. If you pick out just, we're going to be throwing so much at you, but if you pick out one thing that can be your $1 million idea that you can commit to putting to action this week, we'd love to hear that takeaway at the end. Also bring any insights or tips that you might have to add on, and any questions at the end. So I guess we're ready to jump right into the 10th core.
All right, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, guys, we have muted out the call so that way it's clear, and we're just going to go over a couple things. When you're ready to get rolling and really get going, you do have those 3 mentalities right away in any business that you start. There's the people who are playing games and kind of hoping they win the lottery. And that's usually where most people start, honestly. They see network marketing, they see it as a lottery, they see it as a scratch-off card, that maybe they'll, scratch off the winning person, and the winning person will go out and do the work, and then we'll have to do anything. And there's probably about 90% of the people I talk to, and I can identify this very quickly in a conversation with people, that they're just like, I hope I get somebody who will do this. Rather than what do I need to do this. It's always about somebody else doing it for them, and that's what their conversation revolves around. Well, I don't know anybody. Well, I don't know the right people, and all the excuses of, you kept track of people I didn't, you have relationships that I don't, you know people that I don't, all that kind of stuff, and it's almost like they're hoping to hit the lottery by finding this one person that's going to go out and do it. And what I can tell you about most companies is if you hit the lottery and you do find that person in depth, by accident, whatever, what I've seen in a lot of cases is it'll even upset you more. More than what you have right. You think it'll be good, but I've sponsored people who have sponsored people who sponsor people who sponsor people, because I build depth the way that I do it. I have a method of placing down, 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 and all of a sudden somebody does get somebody on their team and they get passed. And they get passed very quickly, and then all of a sudden, if you understand most comp plans will cut you off if you have an explosion underneath you and you're not wide enough or diverse enough to capture it. That's just like that in most comp plans. For those of you who do not know that, surprise, if you find one person who takes off, most of the time, that is not going to solve all issues for you. What it's going to do is it's going to create a giant issue, because what I found is most people will get more upset with fear of loss than they do of fear of gain. So that's the lottery mentality. The second mentality is really of an amateur. They are doing something, but they think that there's one trick to this. Just one. Not that it's a profession, not that they're going to have to learn how to do multiple things. They think there's a trick to it. And I have the same thing that happened to me in real estate when I sold a bunch of real estate. People would start looking for, well, what did you do differently than everybody else that's out there trying? I'm like, I did everything I was supposed to do. Not some of what I was supposed to do, not part of what I was supposed to do, but I did everything I was supposed to do to be able to close the deals and follow up with people. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't hard. It didn't require a degree. It didn't require certain math skills. It didn't require living in a certain area. Because, when you start making things successful in the outskirts of Indianapolis, we're not sitting in a New York, Chicago, L.A., Houston, Dallas, these massive, massive cities where if you happen to know the right people, things can just explode. The middle of nowhere is like just next to Indianapolis. If you drive 15 minutes in any direction, and I know Jim Bailey knows this too, in Denver, Colorado is kind of the same way. If you drive 15, 20 minutes outside of the the immediate circle. I mean, you're in the woods, literally. Here, you're just in a field. You know, you can see forever. You can see Illinois if you stand at the top of the tree, because there's just nothing. It's flat everywhere. So being able to pull it off in the middle of nowhere, as opposed to pulling it off in the middle of a big city, people think that there's some kind of trick you have to use. And I talk to a lot of people, and if they're not at the lottery mentality, typically they're at the amateur mentality of, there has to be one thing that I'm missing. And, you know, what most people do is they look for the one advertising idea, or the one click funnel, or the one business. If I just make business cards, everything will, if I just had a flyer, everything will work out. If I just did this, everything will work out. No, you're going to have to learn how to do this. Just like you'd have to learn how to do anything you become a professional at. And the beginning is always hard. The beginning of playing golf would be hard. The beginning of learning to play soccer would be hard. The beginning of learning how to play chess would be tough, because there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of moves. And does anybody play chess on here, by the way? Just, you know, Jim plays chess. A couple people play chess, so you can write in the comments. If not, we'll talk about that later. So if you play chess, chess is difficult to learn, but it's also difficult to teach because there's a lot of parameters. A lot of moving parts. I have friends that love to play cards, and cards was hard to learn in the beginning because there were just so many different patterns. You know, well, the Texas Hold'em became very, very popular years ago. You know, probably about 12, 13 years ago, I remember actually being in a mortgage company, and they started playing this every single Friday. And a bunch of guys would come in, and they kept asking me to come play and asking me to come play. And you know, I was like, no, I don't really want to look stupid, because these people were playing and playing for real, if that makes sense. I'm not going to go into that. If you don't understand what playing for real means, don't even ask. But they were playing for real, and I wasn't willing to not only look stupid, but it just didn't, you know, it didn't excite me at all to be able to play. That was just me. And they're like, yeah, but your last name and everything like that. I was like, yeah, it just doesn't interest me. So finally I kept watching people play and watching people play, and I eventually asked my friend, I said, well, what are the rules to this? And he's like, well, this does this, and this does that, and this is, you know, over the top of that, and this, you know, and he kind of gave me a hierarchy. And I was like, okay, I understand hierarchy. And he's like, what you're trying to do is basically A, have this, and B, have this. And I was like, okay, so it's kind of like business a little bit. You're trying to get the best price, the best hand. I'm like, I get this. And I started watching him. He goes, well, you can play for free online. And I was like, oh. So I learned the game online for free. And eventually, when I decided to step in to the game the first time, they had asked me for 7, 8, 9 months, every single Friday. And finally, it was a Friday, and I knew it was, you know, noon when they played. And 11:55, I walked in and sat down. And my boss, who ran the office, was like, what are you doing? I'm like, can I still come in? He's like, yeah, but you never come in. I was like, well, I've learned. I now know what I'm doing, you know, so I don't look stupid. I understand at least the basics of the rules. And he's like, okay. So we start playing, and basically what happens is my very first round, it just so happened, if you don't understand cards, you won't understand this, but basically everybody was out except me and my friend who tried to teach me this. And I happen to have, up front, the best hand you could possibly have, and unknowingly, he has the second best hand that you can have. So he goes to put me out, I go all in, he goes all in, and he actually asked me, he's like, are you sure you know what you're doing? I'm like, you taught me, I think so. And he's like, all right, show him. And we flipped him over, and I had pocket aces, and I wiped out basically everybody that went in. There were 3 people who went in, including the guy who tried to teach me. And my very first day, my very first hand, I ended up knocking out 3 of the people in the room who were upset, to say the least, because this is the first time playing. And, of course, everybody said, oh, it's beginner's luck and blah, 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 blah. And I ended up 3rd out of about 22 people. And then all of a sudden people didn't like me playing anymore. So my point to the story is, is I didn't just jump in without knowing anything. And a lot of times people jump into network marketing and they don't really know the basics. And that's like these 10 things that we keep teaching. They kind of just hear you get people in. And that's what people hear when when you watch the plan. It's like they talk from the front of the room, or maybe from a webinar, or maybe from when somebody sits down and says you only need to recruit 2 people, or you only need to recruit 3 people. The phrase used to be, in one of the companies I was in, 3 will set you free and 6 would make you rich. So I was thinking, man, I only have to find a little over a handful of people, and I get rich doing this. I'm just looking for those 6 people. That's it. I'm just looking for those 6. I wasn't wanting to learn the business. I wasn't wanting to understand the business, and that was my naivety when I started at 17. Fast forward a decade later, I've been through real estate school. I've been through investing school. I've been through mortgage school, because there were licenses and stuff like that. And I started to understand that before you take a run at something, before you just run at something, you should go study what you're doing. And, Jim pointed something out. For years, this is another good one. For years, I went into the gym and I worked out and I got nowhere. And what I mean by I got nowhere is I had a goal that I was trying to grow and be stronger and actually physically develop my body so I actually looked bigger, to gain weight. But I just went in and mimicked things, but I didn't understand. I didn't really study. I acted like I studied. I went in and worked hard, and I see a lot of people do this in network marketing. They'll go in and work hard, but they don't know what they're doing and they don't know where they're going. Therefore, they just spin their wheels. And I was one of those people that got into network marketing. I spun my wheels for like a decade. I went to meetings. I went to meetings, but I didn't really listen. I got on calls, but I didn't really listen. I wasn't really taking notes. I've had a bunch of people, well, I don't really take notes because, I never go back and look at the notebook. What the hell does that have to do? Like, at some point, that's fine that you do it that way if you can remember everything. But at some point, if you write it down enough, what happens is and this is where I got to, a guy in a seminar told me this. He goes, don't write down the stuff that you hear over and over again that you know. Write down the stuff that you're like, I haven't heard that before. I was like, oh, that's good. And it's not so you'll go back and study it. That's not what it's for. It's writing it down, creating that habit, because you're going to have a bunch of other people on your team that you're going to be able to reference back and be like, at the last seminar they went over that. Didn't you write it down? No. Because here's the problem is people are doing what you're doing. People are going to do what you do. So I was told early on, this is a monkey see, monkey do business. Meaning whatever everybody else sees you doing, you're going to go do. And maybe that's a horrible way to look at it, but I started kind of figuring that out as people copy what you do. And here's the problem. People are going to copy basically 99% of what you do wrong, and they're going to copy about 10% of what you do right. So the better example you set, the easier it is to influence people. Because everybody wants to influence people. It's funny. Everybody wants to influence people. Everybody wants authority. Everybody wants people to listen. Everybody wants people to join. But then they don't want to do the things that count the most towards getting people to do those things. And one of them is actually really looking at this and studying it. And having realistic expectations. Realistic expectations means there's probably more than one thing. There's probably a handful of things that you have to do. And Jim Rohn taught us that in one of his trades. He said, look, there's basically a handful of things that you have to do consistently. He didn't say you had to be great at them. He just said you have to do them consistently over and over and over and over and over again, and that's what will make you successful in business. That's where the 10,000 hours come in. And we're going to talk about just a handful of things that you need to get good at, and if you get good at these handful of things, you don't have to be great at them, you don't have to be perfect at them, you don't have to be the best, but you have to get good at them, and you have to at least know what they are to be able to be successful. John Maxwell, one of my mentors, said, there's basically about 5 things. He really said the exact same thing Jim Rohn said. He goes, there were really 5 things that's created all of my wealth, all of my knowledge, and all of my success. Basically 5 things. He goes, every day, I read. Every day. He goes, every day I read, every day I write, every day I ask questions, every day I think, and every day I file. Every day. He goes, and I've done that for the last 46, 47 years. Every day he's done it. He goes, with one exception, when he had his heart attack and he was unconscious. That was the only day he didn't do it. And when he woke up the next day, the first thing he asked for was his book, his pens, and his yellow notepad. And he started that day. And he's never missed since. Never. Now, my question is what in your life, other than breathing and eating, are you that committed to? And most people don't have anything they can list that they're that committed to. Nothing. That's every day like that. But why does that make sense? What I guess what benefit has that made? Well, John's been able to write close to 100 books. John's been able to speak 12,000 plus times. John's been able to accumulate more information on a single subject than any person in history, according to, I think it's either MIT or Stanford did a study on this. Now, how does that equate financially? John Maxwell's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 million. He's actually closing in on $1 billion of his net worth. A guy who writes books and studies, $1 billion. He's worth more than some of the network marketing companies that are on here that we represent. Worth more than the whole company. Individually, he's worth that. So that's how important it is to have a plan and have the right plan and do it well and do it over and over and over and over and over again and get good at some of this stuff. And here's what's crazy. I kind of listed this out probably 12, 13 years ago. I was kind of having a conversation with somebody. I said, look, I've been able to transfer the skills that I'm going to teach you into and from the mortgage business, where it was 6 figures, to the real estate business where it was 6 figures, to investing where it was 6 figures, to network marketing where I never hit 6 figures. I only got to like $77,000, but I was able to break $10,000 a month, to the massage business that was over 6 figures. So I've been able to do $10,000 a month in 5 industries, 5 different industries, and it's really the same thing over and over and over again. And when I sit down and teach anybody anything, I'm like, it's really these things over and over and over again. And you know what our biggest problem is? We get bored. We get bored. And you know what we do? We go, you know what? We should change it. We should change it. How do we change it? How do we not do what we're supposed to be doing and do more of it? But how do we change it because I'm bored? I heard somebody else did this. We should do that instead. I was listening to Mike O'Hearn talk about working out, and he's like, guys, I've been doing this since I was 13. I think he started working out at 9. At 14 or 15, he entered his first contest and won. He actually beat the adults, or 18-year-olds, when he was 15 in bodybuilding, and he's been doing it. He's now, I think he's 49, maybe. He's approaching 50 years old, and he still is beating the 20-year-olds 30 years later. You know, just basically, he's like, guys, I do the same thing, same routine, get up at 4 in the morning, or he's at the gym every day at 4 a.m., so that way he can work out, get all that done, get filmed, get everything, and then he's basically showered, eat, ready to go by 7, 8 a.m. To be able to do all the photo shoots and be able to do all the lives and be able to do all the other stuff that he does. Because he lives in California, and a lot of where this gets posted is he was, you know, hitting the East Coast and then the West Coast, and then he'd take a nap in the middle of the day, you know, and then wake back up and do some evening stuff and then go to sleep again and then wake up and do it all over again, 7 days a week. He was an Olympic athlete, Olympic judo. He's a nationally ranked power lifter, and he's a professional bodybuilder that holds, I think it's at least 3, but it may be 4 natural bodybuilding titles. 4. Again, a gentleman who's hit in 3 different industries, saying the same thing. And what I did is I started studying these people, and I was like, you know, it doesn't really matter what industry you go into. I'm seeing a pattern here. And if we were able to interview Ed Milet, who's worth $400 million, who's, you know, one of the top reps in a company, financial services company. I've been watching him because Mike O'Hearn and him sat down. He's a big fan of fitness, and they were kind of talking about the same thing. He started talking about these, the mindset of, being able to figure out what's important and go after it. So let's go into what is important. How do you get this programming? And the thing that messes most of us up is our programming. Our programming that says, well, I just need to do this a little bit. Because you hear that in the meetings, people talk about just a little bit. Well, you just need to do a little bit. You can do this at 5 hours. It's just 5 hours a week. Just 5 hours. Right? I mean, have you ever heard them say that? Guys, it's so simple. You only need to put in 5 hours. And if you just put in 5 hours, take 5 hours a week divided by 10,000 hours. How many weeks is that? Does anybody know? Wild guess. At 40 hours a week, you can accomplish 10,000 hours in 5 years. 30, right? It's like 30 years. Take you your whole life. How many people have their whole life to do network marketing? Another 30 years. You got another 30 years, not to break the bank, but just to basically break even and do well at 5 hours a week. So if you think you're going to be able to accomplish this in 5 hours a week, I want to be the first to let you know they lied to you. It's going to take more than 5 hours. Unless you take those 5 hours and you do some of the stuff I'm talking about, and you accomplish in those 5 hours what most people it takes 25 hours to do. Because I'll be real honest, I kind of tell this to people and they get mad, especially the super successful people who beat their head against the wall to do this. I was looking on I belong to a couple different training programs. One of the programs has 17,000 people in it, and people were listing out what they were doing. Like one guy was contacting 800 people for the week and sending out information. 800 people for the week is what he was contacting, and he was doing this, and he basically boiled it down, and he had gotten one recruit. And he had spent something like, it was a ridiculous amount of time, like 36 hours for the week. And I was like, cool, I spent like 3 hours this week and recruited 7 people. I said, I think I contacted maybe 12 people? Maybe 12. And I posted it, and I have 60, 70 comments underneath it. I have network marketers running after me, asking me, and instant messaging me later like, hey, I'm not interested in joining your company, and I don't want to do anything else, but how are you doing this? I'm having a conversation right now. It is usually real late at night, but I started getting the messages real late at night, like 2, 3 in the morning, from a guy from India. And he's like, hey, I saw you on such and such page, and you said that you were able to recruit this many people. That must all be warm market. And I'm like, no, it's not. Again, the excuses, right? Well, it must be like this. You must have known all those people. I said, no, I didn't know them all either. Well, they must have come from the exact same meeting or the exact same company that you were at last. I'm like, no, they didn't come from the same, not all of them. Well, you couldn't have done it cold market. I'm like, some of them are cold market. Well, you couldn't have done it by Facebook. Some of them are Facebook. My point is I've been able to bring people on from all these different industries, from all these different places. This is not that difficult. But what's difficult is getting yourself to the point where you actually believe what we're talking about actually physically works. And I could bring on a couple people. I see a couple people who are on right now that I could unmute and walk through and tell you how this is working. Because a couple people have now accomplished, I don't know, they have 12, 15, 16, 18 people on their team. And it's a short amount of time, 40 days. I'm not the only person. And there are people outside my company that I've had conversations with starting at like 11 o'clock and ending at 2:30 in the morning, where we map out exactly how things work and what to do, and and we take that time, and all of a sudden they're breaking records in their company and they're being interviewed in their company. In this group. So what I'm really, and I talked to Beth about this, next week, what we're probably going to do is Beth and I really aren't going to talk. What we want to do is we want to interview some of you guys and have you guys on here who are making this work, tell the rest of the people what they're doing, you know, what you're doing. Like, what did you pick up? And here's the thing. I'm going to be taking notes because I can learn something from anyone doing the work. I'm not interested in your idea unless your idea has transmuted into physical work that's transmuted into results. Show me results, and I want to know how you got those results, because maybe we can come together and we can make it better. But if you just have the idea and have no results, then I'm not really interested in spending a bunch of time on that because you don't have the results, regardless of the numbers. If the numbers are so good and it's such a great idea, then why haven't you taken the next step and produced results if it's that great of an idea? Why do you need approval from anyone else? So that's how I break everything down. If you want to know like why I might not jump on something right away, you have to have the results. So you have this philosophy that you have to kind of get through, and we'll get through that really quick. And here's the most important part, is this mindset of, you know, you have to learn all 10 things, because all 10 things are required to make this work. You can't do half of them. You have to start people the right way. You have to obey the laws of duplication and understand what they are. You have to protect your team from the idea of the month club. And you have to learn the growth cycle of when you get somebody in. The growth cycle involves more than just growth. It involves also personality, how each individual is going to grow and see this. How are they going to learn the process in the business? What are they going to be good at? Some people are going to be really good on the front end. They're going to be great at contacting people. Some people are going to be really good at the presentation. Some people are going to be amazing at the follow-up because they're so detailed. Some people are going to be great at building the relationships, and they're going to be terrible at all the other stuff. And some people are going to have that stick around long enough, and they're just going to stick around long enough, and people are going to believe in the commitment they have, and that's what's going to make it happen for them. Everybody has something different, but you ask yourself, are you doing everything that you're supposed to do? Am I doing everything? And that's kind of this checklist tonight of the massive action plan. Is number one, am I doing everything on the list? Do I even know what everything on the list is? Am I doing everything? And then am I doing it consistent and persistent? And am I teaching it to those on my team? Here's how you teach it to those on your team. Until you have 10 people on your team, you have nothing to teach anybody. Let me repeat that. Until you have 10 people on your team that you have brought on your team, not just placed there, until you have 10 people on your team that you've brought on, you have nothing to teach. Nothing. There's no reason you should be sitting down and getting together with your people for any reason other than promoting the next event. That's the only reason you should get together with them. Hey, did you know about the next call? Hey, did you know about the briefing? Hey, did you know about the open house? Hey, did you know about the training? Hey, did you know about the regional? Hey, did you know about the convention? That's the only thing. There is way too much talk about getting together and training your team with people who've done nothing. Like, you know, like, I'm new, Jim's new, we're in a brand new company. I'm just like talking about this, like, isn't really happening. But we're brand new, we're both talking. And like, hey Jim, what do you think we should do? And Jim's like, I think we should do this. And I'm like, I'm new too, I think we should do this. Neither one of us have done anything, and we just spent an hour talking about all the stuff we're going to do, and neither one of us have done anything. That was called a wasted hour. Instead, if Jim was the upline, Jim be like, you know what? There's a guy who makes $1 million a year doing this. I'm going to go get on that call. Why don't we both get on that call? I was on that call. You were on that call. What did you get out of the call? That's a great conversation to have. What did you get out of the call? I got this out of the call. That's the conversation that you need to be having when you're sitting down with people. What did you get out of the last event? Do you have tickets to the next convention? I've already got my ticket. I don't only have tickets to the next convention. I have tickets to the one after that already. I told my upline, I was like, you don't have to call me again ever and question whether I'm going to be at anything, ever. I said the only 2 reasons I'm not going to be there is I'm in a coma or I'm dead. Those are the only 2 reasons. Other than that, I'll be there. Like if I have to walk, if I have to Uber, if I have to ride horseback, skateboard, unicycle, I'll learn how to do it. Stilts, pole vault over a lake, I'll be there. And he was like, wow, like nobody's ever told me that. Nobody. You want the best compliment you can ever give the team is total commitment to what's going on. That's the best thing you could possibly do, total commitment. Not work 24/7, but just you're committed to what's going on. And once you do that, see, I followed some people who followed some people who followed some people, and that's why it was successful. So, leading and teaching. Getting people started right. Can I do what you just did? Do I have the time to do what you just did? And am I okay doing that with friends, family, and neighbors? The laws of duplication, it must work instantly. It must work 10 levels below me. It must work with people I don't know. It must work 1,000 miles away. It must work when an amateur does it to a professional and vice versa. And it must work in different languages. So right now, we're actually translating the favor script into Spanish and going to be using it in Spanish. And I guarantee it's going to work in Spanish, just like it's going to work in Portuguese, just like it's going to work in French, just like it's going to work in German, in the Russian. Nupareski? Anyone? No? Jak się masz? It'll work in Polish. Japanese. It's probably going to work there too. Konnichiwa. Keep it simple, keep it easy, keep it duplicatable, and then understand the growth cycle. You're going to start with learn knowledge. So that's why we're on here tonight, is just to learn some stuff. Learn these 10 things. What are these 10 things? Do I know them? Do I know these 10 things? Then I have to look at, over the last month, and just do it by the month, over the last month, how many of these things have I been on track with? Getting started right. Have I been on track with that? Did I get started right? Did I contact my first 10 people, or am I still thinking about contacting my first 10 people? Did I contact them? If you can't write down the names of the 10 people you contacted and presented to, then you haven't done it yet, right? You know, be like, well, I talked to my goldfish and the stuffed animals over there. And that's okay, because I presented to stuffed animals when I first got started. I was like, all right, everybody's getting in. Let's get started. Teddy bears on the right. Aqua thing, because my brother, like my little brother was into, you know, sharks and aqua things, so we had all that. So you go from learn knowledge to activity knowledge. What most people do is they never get out of learn knowledge. Most people, it's true. Most people never get out of learn knowledge. They just learn and learn and learn and buy the next course and go to the next seminar and join the next company and join the next program, and they're professional course takers. And there's tons of them in the industry. Tons of courses and tons of people like that. But they never get out of learn. They never get into action. They just keep learning. It's the next program. They're like, I'm just about at the point where I got to do something. Let's start something new. And it's the shiny ball syndrome. Shiny light, you know, the laser pointer for the cats. It's a laser pointer for the cats. It's ClickFunnels, get rich quick for the adults. That's how it works. And we sign up for those programs. Activity knowledge. So there's a very small percentage that kind of clicks over, maybe less than 10%, that actually clicks over and starts doing the work. And all of a sudden, if you start actually physically doing it, it's amazing how much faster. Write this down, 20 to 1. 20 to 1. 1 hour in the field is worth 20 hours in the classroom. So you can learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, but when you go out and physically do this stuff, your knowledge will explode. And another thing that will explode is how you thought it was going to work versus how it does work. And anybody can do it. And then you'll get into modeling knowledge. Modeling knowledge is when you're out doing the activity and you keep meeting up with people who are good at it, and you start correcting and auto-correcting all of the little things that you're probably not doing as well as you could be. You know what? I could use a different word there. You know what? I could ask a different question there. You know what? I shouldn't pause as long. You know what? I should look up and actually make eye contact rather than staring straight down. Just little things. I should sit up straight. Those kind of things. You know, I'm talking about like at a seminar. And then there's an even smaller percentage that start teaching. So, do you know the basics? And we're going to talk about this on Tuesday, but do you know the basics? Contact, invite. So the basic contact is how are you opening the door to the information? Typical network marketing is, are you open to making more money? And the minute you talk about money, people's ears shut off, the wall goes up, the questions, you know, they're throwing, you know, grenades over the wall at you, right? Trying to swing, knock you out, knock you down. You know, are you interested in making more money? Are you interested in a home-based business? Hear that one a lot. My favorite is you try to oversell your product. You know, hey, you know anybody that has aches, pains? You know anybody who can't sleep? You know anybody who, you know, wants hair? You know, I've heard all kinds of weird things. Wants hair? I was like, what the hell? What are you talking about? They're like, oh, well, we have a hair product. I was like, you might want to choose some different words. Everybody needs a fill in the blank with your product. Everybody wants to lose weight. No, not everybody does. I got contacted 2 or 3 times. They're like, oh my gosh, don't you want to lose weight? I was like, no, actually for the last 20 years, I've been trying to gain weight. Thanks, though. Appreciate it. But everybody wants to lose weight. No, not everybody. A lot of people do. I'll agree, a lot of people do. Yeah, but obviously you want to lose fat. No, I need a little. You know, I'm sub 10% right now, so I need a little bit. I'm not looking to go on stage. I don't need, you know, to read the map of my, you know, tendons. I'm good. Thanks. You know, everybody drinks coffee. I heard that the other day. Everybody. You know, they're like, I don't understand why this isn't working. I'm like, maybe because you're trying to oversell a product rather than talk to a person. It's all sell. Contact. How are you contacting them? Hey, can you do me a favor? I just want to tell you about what I'm working on outside of whatever you do. Outside of real estate, outside of the construction job, outside of the supermarket, outside of nursing, outside of what do you do? Truck driving. I just want to share with you what I'm working on with a friend of mine. So if you ran into the right person, you could refer them to us. And here's the thing. I'm not forceful, but I am strong when I say it. And here's why. A lot of times, because people do not have good self-esteem, would be the best way to put it. A lot of people do not have positive self-esteem. They change the favor script to this, and I've heard people do this. And it's kind of like the Eeyore approach from Winnie the Pooh. If you know Eeyore's the one that kind of is, you know, sort of negative and, you know, kind of comes out and he's like, well, you probably won't be interested, but it would be really great if you could do me a favor. But I know you won't want to because the last thing I did didn't work. But if I could share with you what we're doing, it's supposed to take 10 minutes, but you probably only have 5. And I know you'll cut me off. Do you see how I mean, the whole time you're basically, I hear you making the excuse every couple words. You make an excuse and you put in their mind what they're going to do back. And guys, for years, I did that. And here's the problem. I did it and I didn't even know I did it. Didn't even know I did it. The next time you contact somebody, now that we have the technology to do it, I actually went, because I was so interested when I went to these trainings, people would say so much stuff, and my mind was trying to work out details and stuff because I wasn't brought up around any of this. Like, no business experience, no sales experience, I was brought up in a household that was built of fear. Everything was fear. Don't go to the next county. Don't go to the mall on that side of town. Don't go where you don't know. Don't go where the map, it was like stay on the path, only on the path, just color inside the line. Nothing different. So as I'm like thinking about stuff, they would keep talking, and I was like, man, I'm missing so much at these seminars. I have to record this. So I actually went out and bought, at one point, the first one I had was a little itty bitty cassette tape, if you guys remember that. Little bitty cassette tape recorder. And that's the first one that I had. And then I went from there and I got a digital one because I wanted to start making MP3s. I wanted to start recording and then making MP3s. And this is obviously prior to the iPhone. That's how I started. I actually made a couple CDs. They're actually really good. I just listened to one the other day. I was like, man, I forgot so much stuff that I know. But I recorded these CDs off of this little mini recorder, digital recorder. And I would listen back, and eventually I was like, you know what I'm going to do what that one guy said? I'm going to record myself contacting people on the phone. And I listened back, and I was like, I can't believe what I just did. And that's what made me start correcting it. I had to hear it. Because when you're saying it, your brain is basically working really hard to keep you on track and learn what you're doing and, keep you in touch. And it's just like when you read something, like I'll write something, and if you spell it wrong or it's out of order, your brain will correct it because your brain knows the right thing to do, but even though you wrote it wrong. So I can look over things 100 times and completely miss, like the word philosophy was spelled wrong on the training that I'm going over, and I taught it for 2 years in front of in excess 2,000 people before somebody caught it. Because sometimes you're so busy trying to get out the message or learn what you're doing, you're missing a very simple thing that would be important. Like philosophy. The philosophy of it, right? So you go from contacting, and you get that down, and you go to invite. Do you have 15 minutes right now if you're going to do it, obviously, over the phone? And that's why I'm using the phone more and more, and the reason I'm using the phone more and more is because it's harder and harder to get in front of people. I used to set up all one-on-ones because a face-to-face is amazing. But I found there's so many people now, if I set up a face-to-face, people don't show up to doctor's appointments, people don't show up to music appointments, people don't show up to school, people don't show up to work, people don't show up to their life, people don't show up to their marriage. It's true. Why should people show up for you? It's hard, right? Unless they're interested. Unless they're interested. But if they're interested, you can't stop them from coming. Watch this. I know people that can't make it to work on time for decades. But if their favorite artist is playing, they're there 3 hours early drinking in the parking lot. With people. They actually can convince people to come with them. Oh my God, it's the best time. Steve, Jim, best. Let's go. And they'll come to the house and kidnap people. Oh, you have to. It's amazing. And, all of the stuff we try to teach, they know naturally how to do. If it's a concert, if it's a football game if it's the team they like. Oh my gosh. Amazingly easy convince. It's Purdue, it's IU, it's Ball State, it's Ohio State, it's whoever. Michigan. I have friends that paint their face and go to Michigan games. If you're a Michigan fan, you understand that. If you're not a Michigan fan, you probably don't understand that. Colorado Rockies. Somebody's like, I didn't know you liked baseball. I was like, I liked it because it was purple. That's not a lie. I actually owned a Colorado Rockies jersey and a coat. And somebody's like, I didn't know you liked baseball. I was like, I don't like baseball. Why? They're like, you're wearing a baseball uniform. I was like, awesome. I was like, I liked it because it was purple. And I liked Colorado. So my point is you don't have to be real bright to do this, obviously. You don't have to know everything. But you have to know how to contact. You have to know how to invite. And then you have to know how to present. These are the basics. What does a presentation consist of? 5 things. The company, the need, the product, the products you market. If there's more than one product, you don't have to talk about all of them. You can mention, hey, we actually have like 5,000 products, but the main areas that we focus in is health and wellness, skincare, and makeup. I'm just making that up because, you know, I know of a company that kind of has that diversity. And we have about 2,000 other different products you can buy through at a discount through the network. But where you're going to make your most money, nutrition, skincare, makeup, health and wellness. That's where you're going to make the most money. And those are products people use every day. Cleaning, house products. That's where the big money is. Why? Because you're going to use that every day. How often do you buy a TV? Once every couple years? How often do you buy toilet paper? Don't ask that to people because people will say, well, I don't want to know. Contact, invite, present. The next skill, follow up. And or third party. Follow up and third party are really kind of the same. Hey, can I keep you informed on what's going on? Yeah, no problem. You have to, if you learn the presentation, you have to know how to end the presentation to be able to get information in their hand and use third party and follow up. But until you learn the presentation, does it really matter what your follow-up skill is? No. Who are you following up with if you don't know how to present? People are like, I need to know exactly how to close people. I'm like, have you presented yet? Like, no. Then I'm like, you don't need to know how to close. You need to know how to present. Because here's the thing. I've shown, if you get good at this, you can show enough people and not know how to close and close people. You know why? Because once you present enough, and here's the funniest thing is, when you stop caring if they get in, that's when they want to get in. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how the magic works, but when you stop wanting them to get in, you're like, I don't even care if this guy gets in. That's when the guy's like, man, I think I want to do this. And I mean, I'm like, you do? Like, yeah. I'll get started right now. I was like, okay. What's your website? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Let me go look for it. Let me call my upline. Present the skill of third party, the follow-up, and then get them to an event. Get them to an event. How do you get them to an event? Typically, I use third party to get them to an event. So mine is contact, invite, present, use third party to bring them to an event. People say, well, when do you close? I literally tell people I don't close people. I'm like, I don't close people. I'm like, when you're ready to do this, you tell us. I'll just keep bringing you the information until you like, I got to get in. I got to do this. Until I find somebody who wants to get in, and then I'll ask everybody, do you want me to put these people on your team? Yeah. Well, then that means you have to get in. It's up to you, but you have to be in for me to put them on your team. Do you want to do that? Yes. Can you afford to do that? Yes. Can you do it now, or do you want to do it like a day from now when you get paid? What's best? And I let them decide, and then they get in. And then I'll put those people in. If you get good at presenting enough, it becomes easy. The problem is you don't present enough, and you're trying to work, smash, squeeze, convince, force those two people who are like, they're the two people who answered the phone for you. And you just keep calling them back. And I shared this with my friends. I said, did you know that there are people who make 6 figures who all they do is they contact people and set up appointments for other people? Like they're appointment setters. Well, the first part is contact. There's lead developers, lead generation developers. All they do is develop leads. And I've got a friend right now, last month he did $62,000 in, what is this month, May, April? He did it in March. In March he did $62,000 in income. The only thing he does is generates leads for companies. How he does it, he goes, meets with them, says, look, what is your budget? I can put out messages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these different platforms. I'll put out the message. I'll write it. I'll do everything. Here's what I get paid to do that, and here's the business it'll bring you. So if he got paid $62,000 to do that, what do you think the companies had to make to justify paying him $62,000? One company paid him about 30 grand. At least twice that, right? I mean, if somebody could bring you $60,000 in a month in income, would you pay them 30? That'd be a good deal. You get to keep 30? It'd be pretty decent. So contact. Just developing leads. Next, appointment setters. There's appointment setters that make 6 figures. So if you become a master appointment setter, you can make 6 figures just appointment setting. Presenters. There are presenters that make anywhere between 6 figures, upwards of $1 million a year presenting other people's products. There are reps of companies, and all they do is present other people's products. They don't develop other people's products. They don't do anything. They just present the product. That's it. They go to shows and conventions, and they present on stages and stuff like that. Sometimes they work for the auto industry. Sometimes they work for the technology industry. Sometimes they work... Guys, this is what's insane. Do you realize there's people who make 6 figures that promote video games, and they get paid 6 figures just to promote the video game? I mean, in some cases they make more than that. There's a genre called cosplay, where people dress up like animation characters and make 6 figures just dressing up like animation characters and promoting the next cartoon. So when you think that 6 figures is a lot of money, I just want to correct you. Money is not real. I mean, it really is not real. You can get paid any amount of money for anything if you convince everybody else that it's what's supposed to happen. It's insane. So presenting, following up. Kind of like appointment setting, there are people that do nothing but follow-up calls on people who click on stuff. I'll give you an example. Grant Cardone, if you watch Grant Cardone enough and you watch some of his training where he's inside of his office, there are consistently people, he has like 2 groups. He has the cold calling group that's pushing the message out, and then he has the closing group that's like, hey, you just clicked on Cardone University, you just clicked on this training, you just clicked on, you know, the 10X, you know, and you didn't buy anything. I just wanted to ask you, what were you looking for? What were you trying to figure out? Because maybe we have a product, or maybe we can send you something for free. You know, what are you trying to find? And all they do is follow up with all the people who click on stuff. That's it. And I was watching the show the other day. One of the kids, and I say kids that he was working with, I think the kid was 24, 400 grand. He's making 400 grand. Just following up. Grant was mad at him. He's like, here's why I'm mad at you. Because I know you can make 800, and you're just lazy. That's it. Just lazy. You just don't see it big enough yet. You don't need it. Because he went from making like $10 an hour and then went to Atlanta, found Grant, and basically signed up with him and started working for him. Can you imagine going from $10 an hour to 400 grand? That would change your life. He could make 8. He's like, dude, you have the talent to make 8. You just haven't been here long enough to want to make 8, you know? Following up, and then events. There are people who make bigger money than you can imagine setting up events, promoting events. And we always used to go like this, you know, kind of say it this way. For those of you who don't know who Don King is, Don King was a boxing promoter. Crazy hair. Had $60,000 shoes. I just remember a story about him buying $60,000 shoes in this one store, and my friend looked at him. He's like, $60,000 shoes? Like, what do you have to do to make $60,000? He goes, I made it in like 6 seconds promoting what's his name's fight. It was one of Mike Tyson's fights. But the promoter makes more than the physical person doing the activity. Just like the promoters of concerts sometimes make more than the concert, the actual artists themselves. Promotion is huge. So my point is, you can make 6 figures contacting, you can make 6 figures, appointment setting, you can make 6 figures presenting, you can make 6 figures individually, you can make 6 figures at all these if you got amazing at them. But if you're just even okay, you can make 6 figures in network marketing just doing the system over and over and over again. But here's my question: do you know the basics? That's number one. Number two is, have you mastered that contact where you can get in front of anybody? You should be able to get in front of anybody. Anybody that you know, anybody that you've come in contact with, you should be able to use this contact and get in front of them and get 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to be able to show them what you do. You should be. Next, the presentation. Have you mastered the presentation? Have you read your own presentation enough times where you could sit here and just rattle it off? Here's what's interesting. Every company I've been in, I've learned their presentation, and right now I could give all 5 of the companies I've been in that I've made $5,000 to $11,000 a month in, I could give the presentation right now, back to back. I can give each company. And I don't need notes, and I don't need a flip book, and I don't need a video, and I don't need note cards or flash cards, and I don't need tips. Now, why did I do that? Because whatever you get good at, you'll get paid to do. The problem is most of us have gotten really good at driving to work and standing where we're supposed to stand for 8 hours a day. And somebody's willing to pay somebody $10 to $15 an hour to do that. And you got really good. I mean, you're really good at it because they pay you every week to do that. That skill pays a certain amount. Presenting pays way more. Way more. Getting good at presenting pays way, way more. Following up pays more, and events pay more. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to learn every single thing I could about those areas, and I just did them over and over and over again. So if you get to the point where you learn the basics, you learn how to contact, you learn how to present, now my next question is your massive action plan for the month, if it would first be one of these things and mastering that. You know you've got the basics down when you can get in front of 15 people. If you can't get in front of 15 people, it's not the presentation you're bad at. You're just bad at the contact. You're bad at getting in front of people. That's what you need to get good at. So this is kind of how I break it down. I don't look for your history. I don't look at what your relationships are. I don't look at what you're doing at work. I don't look at any of that. I just look at, anybody can do this. Let's just do it once. Because a skill is built off of something you do good. I can find anything you do good and say, look, we're just going to do it just like that. Let's get in front of one presentation, get one presentation in. Then let's try for 2. Then I'll double it to 4. Then 4 goes to 8, and 8 goes to 16. You're there. Now, the key is being able to do it month after month. If you can get to 15 presentations in a month, I'll just give you a quick hint. You just beat 95% of every single person in network marketing, regardless of the company. Regardless of the company. 15 presentations a month consistently will bring you to the top of most companies over time. It'll take time, but you can get there. I've watched it happen. The people who are consistently doing 15 presentations plus 15 brand new people every single month consistently. It's roughly about 200. It's 180 people, about 200 people a year. 200 people a year with a 5%, to 10% recruit rate over time is 5 to 10 people, as many as 20 people in a year in, losing 50% a year. You can build an empire just at that number. But getting there, that'll be the hardest thing most of you ever do in your life in network marketing. Just that part. Just to get to the point where you present 15 times. Do it 3 months in a row, you're in the top 1% of all network marketers. The rest, you could go to the top of any company. I could take you out. If you could learn how to do that, I can take you to the top of any company. I could take you into real estate and help you make 6 figures. I could take you into financial services, make 6 figures, insurance 6 figures, cars, sales 6 figures. If you can present to 15 people every single month, still hold the job, still hold your relationship together. In between everything else, it's just phone calls, just telling people the plan, and you can write down 15 names every single month, new names that you talk to, that you present to. Not send a video, not send a click, not hand them a document or a flyer or any of that stuff. Present to. And it's really all about you. How do you get better at doing it? You read, you watch, and you attend. You read 10 to 15 minutes from a book. You know, we suggest one of the Maxwell books or Think and Grow Rich, or, you know, there's hundreds and hundreds of books out there. What do you watch? You know, you could watch Jim Rohn. You could watch Eric Thomas. You could watch, I mean, there's so many great people. I just watched this whole thing on Will Smith the other day. It's amazing. And then attend the events that we're talking about in the 10 core. That's the massive action plan is different. Here's the thing. The massive action plan is actually different for every person based on where they're at. But every single month, I grab a notebook like this, and I write my massive action plan at the beginning. This month, I had a bunch of stuff because we're in the middle of launching. So my massive action plan is setting up an open house and making sure the times are right and the event's right. And, you know, there's 100 different things that I got to figure out for that. The luncheon, I had to do that. We had an Ohio regional. I had to basically get there, get people there. We did that one. That was successful. The next one's Kentucky this week. So now I have an entire list of people that I'm driving for Kentucky for our Louisville event, which is going to be a team event that we're doing. And then I have certain people here, you know, that are part of the organization that we're part of. And I've got this guy needs to get to this level. This guy needs to get to this level. This guy's already gotten to that level. So 2 of the 3 that I needed to get to a certain level are already there, and they were there by the 5th of the month. So now I have about 7 days left. No, I have 6 days left to get the other guy there, to hit the next goal in line, so that way I can hit the next goal in line, so that way I can hit the next goal. And then I've got numbers. We're behind on our numbers, but we're on track for what we're trying to do. I had a birthday. I had Mother's Day today, and then I have one more event that's basically a friends event that I promised I'd be at, so now that's the next event that we have. But I wrote down the whole month ahead of time of every single thing that I knew that was going on this month that either I needed to accomplish or was going to be a challenge to get done and fit in. And I fit all this in, and that's kind of how I look at every single month I do this. And what I was taught is you need to plan the year before the year begins. You need to plan the month before the month begins. You need to plan the week before the week begins. That's what Brandy and I were talking about. I was like, what do you have Monday? What do you have Tuesday? What do we have Thursday? What do we have Friday before we leave? What do we have Saturday? What time do we have to leave? How do we need to do that? Sunday, there's another event. Are we going to it? What are we doing? We have the whole week planned out. It's Sunday. How many people do we need to talk to this week? Which contacts are we contacting? And we laid all that out. Now, that might seem a little overboard for somebody brand new. So let's go back. Basics. Do you know them? Maybe you need to write the basics 10 times every day. Write the 10 core out 10 times every day, so that way you have it memorized. You're like, Jeff, never have to, I know those 10 off the top of my head, forward and backwards. If you're going to build an entire organization out of it, wouldn't it make sense to memorize it? Wouldn't it make sense it's getting started right, and then I'll be here a year from now, and then personal development, and then marketing, and then I know I have to present the open house, the weekly training, the regional, the convention, and then a massive action plan. Just know it off the top of your head. That's what I'm going to create. And if I'm not creating it, I'm participating in those things. That's what I'm participating in over and over and over again. I'm committed at least getting to 6 figures doing that. Maybe you're working on the presentation, and that's what you need to get good at this week. Maybe this month, that's what it's about. It's about getting good at that presentation. Maybe it's setting the goal right now to do 15 by the end of the month, because we're only on the 12th, so technically we're on the 13th unless you show it to somebody tonight. But the 13th, I mean, you could make it by the end of the month if you wanted to. 15 brand new presentations to brand new people that you've never talked to before. It's a challenge, guys. I mean, it's a trick to get yourself to do it. Especially, it's do it not for the promotion. Do it not for the money, but do it to become one of the top 5% in the industry. Do it to become one of the elite. Do it to become one of the people that other people talk about from stage. Say it was because that guy made a decision in May of 2019 to start to go out to present, and he said he was going to do 15. He did 15, and then that basically rolled into the next month, it rolled into the next month, it rolled into the next month. That's how I got in. And I heard that story so many times, that's what got me up here on stage. And that person's on your team. That's why you do it. But right now, I have gone on too long. Hope you got something out of that. But I'm going to turn this over to Bess for her part. And then we'll have you guys open call. Bess, are you there?
Oh, boy. Yeah, wasn't this wonderful? Gosh, this is awesome. I just took a lot of notes. And I think that doing it for the love of it, for the joy of it, for the thrill of it, for the joy of who you become, for the joy of doing something with excellence, that's what attracts me and makes me I have to do this. I have to be all that I can be. I have to do this excellently because it feels so good to learn this stuff and to be all that you can be. It's like a dog that loves to run, that gets to run at full speed. If you've seen that, it's so beautiful. The joy in that body and on that face when the dog can really run full. If it held itself back to 70% or 50% or 30%, how happy do you think that animal would be? I mean, it's a gorgeous thing to see a dog or horse or anybody be all they can be and run at that full speed. That's just like what a thrill. So that is why we do it. That is what we want to reach for, and that's what we want to invite you guys to do, and what we want you to invite your team members to do. We may have forgotten that. We may have fallen asleep because, like Jeff said, color within the lines. I happen to be an inner child, child development teacher, trainer, therapist. And the things that we pick up when we're little that can hold us back from that full throttle run are just amazing. John Bradshaw says that, Virginia Satir said that like 70% of families are dysfunctional, and John says all of them are. We're all dysfunctional to some degree. So we were raised with stuff and programs and fears and negative beliefs and all this stuff that can hold us back. And we keep it until we're ready to shed it, till we're ready to let go of all this stuff. And we reach that point when we kind of chafe against our own bridle, when we're through with the limits and we're sick of them and we want to throw them off. That's the type of people that I love working with, the ones that are so ready to have breakthroughs. I just worked with a lady this week like that, and oh, what a thrill. It's like I've also assisted midwives at births. Being a massage therapist, also part of my holistic work that I do was massage therapy, and I took the training to assist mothers at births and to help the midwives, to help the mothers to relax and work on certain parts of the body and shoulders and other places to help the babies be born easier. And what a thrill this is to assist at a birth, and that's why I love breakthroughs. I didn't do a whole lot of those because it crashed my schedule. I was teaching at a school at the time too, in a holistic school, and I would have had to make the choice, be on a call all the time for the mothers who are giving birth or teaching the school. So eventually I just, stayed on my teaching schedule. But what a thrill to help somebody through breakthroughs. So that's why I get to do that in the work and my coaching work that I do. But we choose to do it when we can't stand it anymore, not being who we are, seeing other people succeed, and why am I not? What's holding me back? So I worked with another lady this week that the same thing. She saw people get it at the same time as her network marketing business as her, but other people were passing her up. She thought, well, why is that? They're no better than me. They're no more well-connected or smart or intelligent or better looking or all that kind of stuff. They're no better than me. Why can't I? So that's why she came to have her own breakthroughs, and she did. So we make this commitment to ourselves, and a lot of times it's connected with a why. And that is, like Jeff said, what is the passion? What is your passion? What is the thing that you would do and go full throttle at and give it your all and go to that point of excellence? If you don't, are you going to be okay getting to the end of your life without having done that, without being all that you came here to be? You're going to have to be okay with that. And guess what? That could come at any time. I just lost 2 friends recently, longtime friends that were about my age, not much older, and they were unexpected. You know, I expected them to be around 10, 20, 30 more years, and that could happen to any of us, even in a car wreck or anything. Will you be okay with that, having done with your life? If your life were to end right now, would you be okay with what you've done? Or would you say, man, I know I could have done more. I know I could have helped more people. You know, can I have another chance? Nope, it's too late. Okay, you know, can you live with that? And a lot of times we put off, well, I've got the rest of my life to achieve this. You know, tonight I'm going to watch TV. Or tonight I'm going to say, well, I'll do this. You know, I'll do this tomorrow. You know, I'll do my presentations tomorrow. If this was the end, would you be okay with that, what you've accomplished so far? You might not have as many tomorrows as we think, right? So I want to welcome on the call who has joined us since we began, and that is Lisa Roush, David Roeder, David Peters, Donald Manlove, I think I saw, Doris Haskins, Andrew Feiner, Thomas Malevka, did I say David Peters, Joyce Shokowski, Ignacio, and someone who has joined us at 2 numbers that I don't know. We'll find out later who they are, but welcome everybody for being on. I would like to speak about what could stop us from taking action. But first, if you don't take action, where else are you going to go? Where else are you going to go in life? Actually, a good closer might be to say to somebody, if they're not going to get into network marketing, what better options do you have? You know, is it going to be corporate, or a second or third job that you're going to burn out on, or real estate? Do you have the money to invest? Or franchise takes a lot of money. Stock market takes money and knowledge. Are you going to settle for poverty? You know, and get a tinier house where, and eventually, you know, 70% of baby boomers are going to be retiring in poverty, and a lot of them have to choose. Well, am I going to put gas in the car, or am I going to buy food? Am I going to buy medication, or am I going to pay for the utilities this month? You know, what a sad thing to have to make those choices. So what else? Start your own business costs about $60,000. 90% of businesses fail. So network marketing has really the lowest risk in starting your own business in the world, the greatest return on investment in the world. On-the-job training, no ceiling to that income. And just to contrast this for a moment with corporate, because I happen to be coaching a corporate client this week, and we were just comparing the two, and oh my gosh, she says in corporate there's competition. You know, she's growing out of her corporate job into network marketing. So she goes, in corporate there's all this competition, whereas in network marketing there's the cooperation and the support. In corporate there's limited room at the top, but in network marketing there's unlimited room at the top. In corporate there's limited income. In corporate there's network marketing, unlimited income. In corporate there's a lot of politics. Network marketing, there's a lot of ethics for people who do it right anyway. And I'll explain that in a minute. And she said, actually, the longer that you stay in corporate, the less secure your job is, because, you know, the longer you're in, they have to give you pay raises. So now they're paying you more than a brand new guy. So you are the first person they want to cut. You know, so the new guy can come in and they can have him cheaper. So the longer you're in there, and I know people that have done that. They just wait for the axe. That's all they do. They sit there and they get their pay raises, and they're making more and more, and they know that, like, they're the turkey that's going to be for Thanksgiving next, right? They're just waiting for the axe to fall, you know, when they're going to be cut. Whereas in network marketing, the longer you stay in, the more security that you have, the more experience that you get, and you start to get that exponential result rolling, like John Maxwell. You know, one reason he's worth almost $1 billion, I think, is because he not only loved what he was doing and did it all the time, you know, learning about leadership and writing about it and discovering it. He says, I just know I'm on my path. This is my thing. I know it. But the reason that he's worth that much now, I think, is because he did it consistently, and he got better and better and better at it. He got worth more and more and more as a speaker. Same way with you, doing the basics and learning those deeply and over again, and then putting them into action, you know, putting that into the field, taking the classroom here and taking it into the field to learn 20 times more there than you will in this class. So we hope this is an inspiration to go out and have fun and be all that you can be in the field. But that's how they got there. Now, a little story about B.K. Barico comparing network marketing with corporate is he was raised in it, for gosh sakes. His parents were very successful network marketers, and they knew how to build a business and do it right and relate to people and train them well and all that. They had all these skills. So he and his brother were raised in network marketing, and they became network marketers, of course. But both of them were kind of hungry and curious because, you know, at some point you have to throw away your parents' stuff and see what else is out there in the world. So both he and his brothers quit network marketing and got jobs. And BK went into the corporate job career, and he said, well, to be honest with you, I did learn some things in network marketing. I learned how to not fall asleep in a meeting. I learned how to get up to an alarm clock. I learned how to survive on 2 weeks of vacation a year. I learned how to live on a lower salary. And he said, well, okay, to be fair, he did learn some advertising stuff there that now he has applied to when he's running his own companies. He owns a network marketing company, or has had one too. So he said, I could apply that. But, you know, I guess what a lot of people learned is he learned that there was more freedom in network marketing, so he gladly got back in because he saw people in he saw people in network marketing supporting and cooperating and helping each other. And in corporate, he saw people doing things that were not good to each other. So quite a huge difference. But then he jumped back in with that appreciation and more education, wide open eyes. So we can learn from people like this to value where you're at. And that is why we do our monthly action plan, our massive action plan. We want to take the action. Now, what could keep you from taking the action? Well, I listed 4 things to discuss tonight. One is time. I've heard that life is 70% maintenance, and I get frustrated with that myself. Like I have to shower every day. I have to, wash a few dishes every day. Walk your dog every day. There's a lot of maintenance. It's just routine stuff. So we have to really hold precious that other 30% where we can serve life or reach our dreams. But what we want to do is track your time for a week and see how you spend it. See what falls into these 3 categories: what you need to do yourself, what you can delegate and outsource. And like Eric Ward said, if you're not earning, if you're doing something that you can pay somebody to do $10, $15 an hour, like mow your lawn or whatever, clean your house, do your laundry, prepare your food or whatever, if you can pay somebody to do that, you cannot afford to do it. If you're network marketing, you cannot afford to do that yourself. If you spend that time presenting and inviting, following the 7 steps that Jeff said, you will make much more than that over time, more than that $10 or $15 an hour. I said, but do not use that time that you reclaimed or hire somebody else to do it or outsource. Don't use that time to watch TV. Use that time to do these 7 steps. Invite and present and follow up. So, and then the 3rd category, see what you can let go of. So you want to see what you'd have to do or what gives you great, great joy or pleasure. Like John Maxwell says this too. He has to see what he must do himself. But anything that he can find somebody to do 80% as good as he can, he better delegate and outsource that. And then the 3rd thing is see what you can let go of. See what you don't need to do, what you can cross off your list, and make more time for network marketing. So before you can do that, though, you have to track it and be aware of how you spend it. Remember to put the big rocks in the day first, most important things first, and then the medium will fit around that, and the small will fit around that, and the sand will fit around that. And you can probably get it all in the day, but the big rocks would be presenting, doing your presentations a day. So put that first, and then other things. Actually, my big rock is to get up and stretch and do my spiritual time first every day, and then look out and see what is first in my day to plan for and do and execute, like our shows that we do, our lunchtime shows, and then my coaching that I do with people, and then the outreach, or the taking care of the people we already have, the administration part. Also notice what your time of day, match the toughest task to your best time of day. So if you're a morning person, put your toughest or most important tasks there, or the ones that you might avoid, and put that there. Personally, I don't mind using the term time management. I know we can't manage time or manage money, but those are two resources that we can manage how we use those two resources. So I just use time management as a shortcut to saying that I'm managing how I use my time and money. So I don't mind saying it that way. Number two, the reason we might not take action is the unexpected comes up. Count on it. I've heard Jeff say double the time that you plan to do a task, because the unexpected will always come up. Murphy's Law and all that. So plan extra time, allow extra time, and also have a plan B. So when the unexpected does come up, your child gets sick, then you want to have a sitter or a family member that you know can maybe help you or fill in for you, or make that help you out a little bit for the unexpected things come up. Number three, the reason we might not take action is the massive action is we get distracted by something that's easier or more immediate than that thing. So remember our why and have it in front of your desk, on your refrigerator, in your mind. Remember it every morning when you get up, and then through the day when you're doing something, you're getting distracted. This helps me anyway, saying, now, am I on track? Okay, this is a fun path of the mind to go down, or follow this YouTube or this article or something like that. Okay, am I aware that I'm off track here? I'm off track of my schedule? Yes. I'm going to allow myself 3 minutes to get back on. Quickly scan that article and see what's in it, see if there's anything I can use in my teaching or coaching or anything like that, anything that contributes. Does this thing contribute to my goals? Now, it might contribute to a moment of right brain creativity, fun, watching the cat videos or something like that. It might contribute toward a little rest of my mind. Do I need to do that? And that's okay, but let me be conscious of what I'm doing instead of waking up 2 hours later, or realizing 2 hours later, man, I just lost 2 hours. I've done both. I've been conscious, and I've also like, oh my gosh, 2 hours have gone by, and that's when I was going to work on my website or whatever. I was going to do my presentations if I was in network marketing. So just be aware, be awake and aware, and remembering your why and your passion. Why is it worth? For example, I am going to be a first-time grandma in September, and one of my whys is to be able to set myself up to have the free time, money to go there and spend, renting a place there to stay for, I don't know how long I will, but maybe a good part of the year, every year I'll be there. So I definitely want to be part of that child's life and his parents' life, my son and the mother. So I want to be part of all of their lives. And is my watching that video going to contribute to that, or is it going to take away from that? So it's kind of hard to be aware, but a lot of us do go to sleep, and I'm still sharpening it myself. So number 4 reason why we might not take massive action is that we might avoid things we don't like or that we're bored with. There are certain tasks, it said that 50% of what we do we might like doing, and 50% we might not. May or may not be true for you, but there are tasks that I have hated. I used to hate technical stuff and computer stuff, and here I am making a living on the computer. I don't hate it anymore because I've gotten familiar with it and I've gotten faster with it, and I've actually found, because I'm serving people with it, so I've gotten to like it. But those things were hard for me, and I would avoid them, and I would do something else that was easier, more immediate, like an interesting YouTube video or something like that. Or maybe another task, like, I don't want to learn how to do this difficult thing in technology on my website, so maybe let me change the cat litter. Like, I know how to do that. That's easier. I'll do that instead. Or clean something in the house. Distract myself with something easier, more familiar than that hard thing. So, or something might be boring. Like Jeff was saying, we might try something out and say, oh, I get impatient. It's not bringing me results fast enough. So let me go try something else that somebody else suggested over here. Here's a network marketer teacher who says to do it this or that way. Let me go try that. I'll try that for a week. Oh, that's not getting me results fast enough. Oh, let me try. Here's another new bright shiny object. Let me try that for a week. So this would be like a gardener who's just planting carrots over here and watering them for a week, not getting results. Okay, they're going to abandon that. They're going to go over here and grow green peppers. And that didn't come up fast enough. So, of course, that can't work, and that it's choosing one thing that is the best method. And that's why I love teaching what we do, because it's the best I've ever seen, fastest, simplest, and all that, duplicatable. And stick with it and grow it deep. Grow it deep, like Jeff was talking about, growing your legs deep in network marketing. And grow your technique deep. Get good at this one thing, the favor script, the 10-minute presentation. Get real good at it and let yourself go deep with it. Do not get distracted and try other things. I found that if I have to do something that's hard for me or that's boring for me, like paperwork, I don't like that. It's my least thing. I've got some papers here piled up to organize. And I think, oh, there's so many. Let me do something else that's more fun. There's so many papers to organize. But when I approach it like, okay, I'm going to do it with love. I'm going to do it with enjoyment, do it with love for myself of how this is going to feel when it's done and everything's organized, it's usable, my files are usable and findable. And I'm going to do it with love for the people that I'm going to contact. But just doing something with love can really change it. I had a friend who avoided washing dishes. She hated washing dishes. And this is something spiritual angle, but for her, what she did, she practiced the presence of God, because there's this guy, a monk named Brother Lawrence, and he had to peel all the potatoes for the monastery. And what he did is he practiced the presence of God, this divine love, while he peeled the potatoes. And he would shift into a higher state in doing that. So my friend started doing it with the dishes. She practiced the presence of, you could say, love or God or whatever it would work, but she found a way to enjoy doing the dishes, to where she found herself going through the house, starting looking for any dirty dishes somebody might have glassed, somebody might have left somewhere, so she could do the dishes. So that was a 180-degree turn. And that's what I've been practicing with the tasks that keep me from massive action, is finding a way to enjoy it, do it with love, put on some nice music, give yourself a reward afterward. I know a client who put up a picture of her kids by her phone, when there was landlines, but look at a picture of your kids. If that's your why, look at a picture of your kids as you make your presentations and your calls, or reward yourself with something fun to do afterwards. I'm going to go dancing afterwards or something like that. So those are my tips for taking massive action. Like Jeff said, polish your presentation, record it, see how you sound on it. Would you join that person? Look at your tone, see how you can improve it. Time it. Is it around 10 minutes or so? Check it against your Always Get a Yes book, where we have written out the components of your 10-minute presentation. Make sure it has all that. Make sure it appeals to all four of the personalities, that there's something for the bullet point person, the fun-loving person, the relationship person, or the logical person. Make sure that you have all of that in your 10-minute presentation. Some of your class members have been having us polish their 10-minute presentations because they know that's worth it. They've hired Jeff or me to privately polish them. And for me, it takes a good 2 hours to do a really, really good job to polish one. But you can shortcut that by checking it against the Always Get a Yes book and checking the 4 personalities, recording yourself, timing it, and all that. We're going to come out with a little worksheet where you can kind of fill in the blanks. But for now, you really do have all the components in what I just said. And the reason that they're polishing it and investing in getting it honed like that is because this is your sales page. This is your money-making thing that should be so compelling that somebody says, "Man, I have to look into this, or I have to get into this." Reason for doing these 10 core, I just wanted to quote Jim Bailey, and he said, "Learn the rules before you climb into the lion's den." So, yeah, and then Steve has a question that we'll address in the questions and answers, Steve. And ready to turn it back over to, I guess, everyone. Open it up for...
Awesome. Let's do this. Beth, do you want to walk through?
Yep. Steve's at the top here, according to our control panel. So, Steve, we'll take your question later, but do you have a takeaway? Your favorite takeaway?
Yes, I was looking at the beginning where Jeff was talking about, I guess it's a habit of trying to filter through people on if they don't have a job, then they may know somebody else to look past that. Like, don't be afraid to go to anybody to try to, find people to do it. Just keep the numbers up, and just once you go to them, you have, and you don't have to worry about if you're going to go to them or not because you've already done it. And that's kind of like probably the rock and middle of the road for a lot of people, including myself, trying to get past the how-to part, I guess you'd say the routine, and to get it down. That's what I keep struggling with is, who to go to, and you might know some people, but you're trying to use logic and knowing them so well that, they don't work, they don't drive, they don't whatever. So you're kind of debating on whether you go to them or not, if that makes any sense. Or does it, Beth?
Want to look for those qualified people and work with those first, but first you got to be one of those qualified people, right?
Yeah.
Which is what our show is about tomorrow, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. You are who you attract, who you are. So if you want quality people, you got to be one, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so like you said, just getting those darn presentations in, into the best people that you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who qualifies. Like I said, the people that do work, that do drive. Most people have communication, phone somehow. And like the comment I had is where I think Jeff was saying, like, how people live. Like my sister talking, my mom was talking to my mom, like when something happens to mom later down the road and she's not around, can't depend on my sister or anything. She don't pay bills. She'll probably end up living off the state. I don't know what she's going to do because she shows no effort into improving herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to help her, but it's kind of hard to help somebody that don't open up, don't come to you, and don't ask or act like they're okay when they're not.
Show her there's a way. Do it and show her.
Yeah. Doing it is a key thing in showing people, like at work, there's this one guy thinks he don't need the job, but he does, and a lot of people think they're just talk. Well, I don't want to be just talk. I want to do it, and when I talk, I want to mean it. Show evidence.
Thank you. And let's come back, and we can maybe have a little more discussion later too. And let's go to Adrian is next at 973.
There. Hi there. The part that, of course, all of the content is excellent, but the part about the 1 hour in the field, like all of this getting ready to get ready stuff, 1 hour in the field is worth 20 hours in the class. That's the one thing that struck a bell with me, because I can really get comfortable in the classroom. So that's what I liked.
I love that. Here's a quote by John Bradshaw. He says, codependents like to think about things versus doing them, because there's two doors. One sign above. One says heaven. One says a lecture on heaven. They said all the codependents are lined up behind a lecture on heaven. We better study before we go there. So
right.
Let's do it. Let's do it, you guys, because there's nothing like really living. Thanks, Adrian. I'm going to remember that too. I'm going to apply it to myself. Thank you. And Brandy is next.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. So one of the things that I thought I could add to when Jeff was talking about, like, we get bored because we use the same thing that we do in all our other businesses, we apply to network marketing, and it's literally the same process. And a lot of people get bored, or they're just like, this isn't working. You need to figure a way to figure that out, because I've seen a couple of people that are new to network marketing who have struggled with this. If you feel like it's not working, you need to look and see the results first from somebody who is doing it. And if that's the results you want, that is the person you copy off of. And then you want to copy exactly what they're doing. But then once you do that, you need to be doing it long enough. Because like Jeff said, in the beginning, it does take a little bit longer to get that momentum going. But once you get it going, then it takes off. So a lot of people will jump from thing to thing to thing when it comes to how do I get this information in front of somebody, rather than sticking to it and really learning how to do it.
Good one. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll go to Dr. Chris at 808.
Okay, thanks. I really like the learn knowledge versus activity knowledge versus the modeling knowledge and the training knowledge. Also, by doing 15, presentations a month, you're in an elite category of network marketers, along with the different things that keep us from taking action and how to overcome those. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. And let's go to Doris at 313.
It was talking about the different blocks that we might have that are halting us. But I realized that as Jeff was talking about doing that, talking to 15 people, that a lot of times we might think talking to 15 people is sending a link and things of that, but it's that actual having that conversation, which is giving you that elite status.
Thanks, Doris. And let's go to Joyce at 412. So we need to unmute 412, or maybe Joyce needs to happen from your end. Okay, you're open.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Hey there. Great call tonight, and I can second what so many of the folks have said. I know for me, often, I think I can be a learner. You guys know that I'm on many of the MLM lunchtime leadership shows, and I can learn and learn and learn, but it's just really getting out there and doing the activity that hit home to me tonight. So I mean, I've been advancing in each of my companies, but I'd like to advance a little faster than I have been. And I know that I need to be doing more revenue-producing activities every day. So I appreciate your calls, and it always kind of puts a light bulb off for me in terms of where I need to tweak things to get more results.
Wow, Joyce, I thought you were doing wonderful, and you want to do faster. Awesome. We hope we can be some. We hope we can be some wind behind your wings.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I get out of each of these calls. So I appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And now Pasha at 708.
Hello.
Gotcha.
Yes, I appreciated the fact that Jeff was saying 1 hour in the field is worth 20 hours in the classroom, or vice versa. What came to mind, I'm a nurse by profession, and that definitely was true in nursing. You had all of this, time that you had with the lectures and the reading, studying, writing papers, but until you actually were in a lab, where you were actually doing it hands-on or actually in the hospital doing a clinical, you didn't really know what you were doing until you were physically doing it. And so that really hit home for me. And also all the hindrances that you covered, anything that can keep us from accomplishing, carrying out our massive action plan, those tips were very helpful. And actually addressing them, being able to identify them, and then actually being able to address them to overcome it. And you sharing about practicing the presence was a good tip, because I've done that with other things. And so that's a good tip, a good takeaway for me. Thank you.
Oh, so awesome. Thank you very much. Good comparison with nursing, yeah. And Teresa? You're unmuted. And are you there? Have you stepped away from the phone? Make sure you're unmuted. Well, we will come back then. And let's go to David Roeder. And we're unmuting David. Or David, make sure you're unmuted yourself.
Okay. Here I am talking, and I'm muted.
Okay. I can hear you now. Yay.
It's better with the mic off, I guess, or mic on, whatever, So I actually took notes today, and there was a lot of stuff I got out of it. And what I did hear from Jeff, and I've heard it many, many times, it's not, there's a lot of things, but it's not the one thing you do. It's everything you do. You got to do everything. I've heard it from, different coaches, different trainers, MLM trainers. So you got to do everything. And it says, write down the things you don't know so that you're actually doing the work. And, it's not so much that you have to go back and take, to look at the notes again, but a lot of it is more for consistency and to show your team that you're actually doing something. And, about the 10% of the people, 10% of the people you recruit, or the people that you recruit will do 10% of what you do, or what I do. And they'll do 90% of what I don't do. It's like everyone else says, 1 hour in the field is 20 hours in the classroom. And I like what you said, that question you asked is, if they say no to the opportunities, this is what better options you have. Go work in corporate America, and your job is limited, and all the different nuances that you said. But I like that. So those are the biggest takeaways I got.
Thank you very much. And yeah, and on to Jim B.
Jim B. That'd be me. Yeah, it was interesting to hear Jim Rohn's name come up, and I think you always said to pick a niche, but I know he was definitely a firm believer in standard operating procedures. So you just got to, stick to the procedure and stick with it. That experience says a lot. You can go theory or learn, but until you get the experience, that's so true. I know with our bus drivers, with Denver Public Schools, new bus drivers, we would put him on the hardest route, and if he could make it through that hardest route through the inner city, he would be hired. So, it was true experience, which either made you or break you. So, thank you for sharing that. And I'm finding, a lot of the sales marketing just doesn't work. You got to go with the relational marketing is such a better way to go. So those were my takeaways, and then the quick funnel thing. That's a good point. I'd like to talk that down the road a little bit, but that's so true. So I just wanted to share that bus driver that had a little bit of memory of those were hard routes, but you just had to do it, and if you could do it, you could become succeed in what you're trying to do. So very good, like always, and we'll be applying. I did take heart on the bit of what you've been doing, so I had written down what I've done the past, 40 days or 30 days, really. I went back and I had presented and exposed almost every day, but I didn't really capture the, getting a presentation. So I definitely need to work on that. So a lot to learn. The call of action. My next plan, I went back the 30 days, and now I'm doing the map of action for the next, 30, 40 days. You do have to go to the events. I ran into a situation where some help didn't show up, and next thing I